Well, good morning, everybody. Thank you so much for being here in beautiful Balboa Park. I know, twist your arm to come to our city's crown jewel on a Friday morning. Delighted to be here with a number of, I'll call them heavy hitters. How about that? From our California State delegation, led, of course, by the President Pro Tem of our California State Senate, Tony Atkins. 4 members of the California State Assembly, Brian Mainshine, Chris Ward, Dr. Akilah Weber, and David Alvarez. I'm also joined by my partner here for Balboa Park, Councilmember Stephen Whitburn. I want to thank the city staff and various community leaders who also joined us to celebrate this announcement this morning. And a special thanks to our civic organist, Raul Prieto Ramirez, for getting us started with some great music. Can we get a round of applause for our civic organist? Here. So we're here in Balboa Park, magnificent Spreckels Oregon Pavilion, to highlight the significant funding allocations secured in this year's state budget by our legislative delegation in Sacramento. This is the 3rd year that we've come together to celebrate and thank those elected leaders. And this one is particularly notable because the state was in a severely constrained budget situation, with many of the priorities throughout, other priorities throughout the state competing for these limited precious dollars. Despite those circumstances, our representatives delivered nonetheless, bringing nearly $25 million of our tax dollars back home to fund critically important priorities and projects for the people of San Diego. We've gathered here in the Oregon Pavilion because 3 of the funded projects are located right here in Balboa Park. One being the maintenance of our iconic, nearly 120-year-old Spreckels Oregon that you see behind us. Fun fact, that organ must be re-leathered every 10 years or so to ensure that it can continue to produce its wonderful sounds for locals and visitors alike to enjoy during the free concerts that are enjoyed here in Balboa Park. The largest single funding allocation this year is $5.6 million to create a new exhibit for the Fleet Science Center and expand the center's efforts to connect San Diegans with the wonders of science. And the 3rd project here in Balboa Park is nearly $1.3 million to make improvements to the core internal systems at the beautiful Natural History Museum. Let me tell you that Balboa Park has a couple incredible champions in Senate President Pro Tem Tony Atkins and Assembly Member Ward. I appreciate you guys keeping the crown jewel at the top of your list. Bravo. These 2 great leaders every year deliver badly needed funding for our crown jewel, which in previous years has included things like improvements to the Casa del Prado Theater, renovation of the Botanical Building, and the restoration of the Marston House, among other important projects. We'll pause briefly. Reminder, those are visitors leaving tax dollars here as they go back home, so we don't mind it. That's just money flying overhead. Now, there are too many projects for me to describe in detail, but I know that some of our other speakers will highlight their favorites, and in the coming weeks, we'll hold additional events to let the public see and focus on some of those really special projects that are funded by our state delegation. What I will say is the funded projects are located across many of our diverse council districts. They focus on issues like homelessness, public safety, community infrastructure, as well as arts and culture. And specifically, they range from the repaving of Roswell Street and Emerald Hills. Thank you, Dr. Weber. Improved lighting at the sports fields at Memorial Park and Logan Heights. Thank you, Assemblymember Alvarez. The construction of the new San Diego River Nature Center in Mission Valley. Thank you, Assemblymember Ward. And increasing affordable housing capacity on city-owned land in City Heights. Thank you, Madam Pro Tem. And a new fire rescue boat for our fire department. Thank you, Assemblymember Mainshine. Those are some good gets, guys. Good job. In all, through their dedicated representation, our champions in the state capitol are helping us to improve the quality of life in communities across this great city and addressing those key issues of housing, homelessness, human trafficking, gun violence prevention, and emergencies out on our beautiful waters, our beaches, and our bays. And these are the only projects that are funded in the city of San Diego. They will probably tell you about tens of millions of more dollars that are going to other places in our San Diego region that, of course, benefit San Diegans as well. I want to give these elected officials the opportunity to share a little bit more themselves, so I'll leave it here for now. But again, thank you all for being here, the media and the members of the community. Next up, it is my tremendous honor to introduce San Diego's most influential leader in Sacramento and truly one of the most important figures in all of California, Tony Atkins. Atkins has been advocating tirelessly for all of us back home for the past 13 years. And as we know, she's coming to the end of her term in the state legislature. I know she is not letting up one little bit. She goes to work every single day with the focus on making sure that San Diego gets its fair share out of Sacramento and we get some good policies that improve the quality of life for all of us down here in America's finest city. Friends, would you please welcome to the podium the leader of the California State Senate, San Diego's own Tony Atkins.
Well, good morning. And thank you, Mayor Gloria. I tell you, it's always a good day, I say. You've heard me say it before, when you get to start your day in Balboa Park in San Diego. Of course, Mr. Mayor, we didn't count on the planes taking off and going the, in this direction, but we can handle it. I also want to acknowledge my city council member, Councilmember Whitburn, for being here and, just your stewardship of this park as well. And of course, I'm pleased to be joined by my fellow legislators in Sacramento. I want to let you know we really are a force of nature. That has not always been the case in the history of California, but we're doing our best to represent you and San Diego County in Sacramento, and I couldn't be more pleased to be with all of them today. Before I talk specifically about state funding for local projects, I think it's really important for me to give you a little bit of an overview of the state budget. The mayor made reference to it, and of course, he spent a little bit of time in Sacramento, so he understands what we're up against. But unlike last year when we began the budget process with a projected $97 billion surplus, this year we faced a budget shortfall of about $30 billion. In the state Senate, we approached the challenge with one overarching goal, and I believe our Assembly colleagues concurred because we have a great budget, and that was to protect California's progress on critical programs that we had put in place for vulnerable Californians up and down the state. I'm pleased to tell you we really achieved that goal together. The budget closes the budget gap, it makes targeted new investments, and it provides services and resources for Californians and our communities without cuts to core programs or dipping into our reserves. And we did that without increasing taxes on the middle class. In fact, the budget builds the reserves that we have to $38 billion. That is the highest in California history. And that's going to help us protect future budgets during times of economic uncertainty. So we were very clear about fiscal responsibility and prudence. Our budget invests in education for schools across the state. It takes the next step in our path to provide debt-free college to all Californians by making foster youth the first category of students to be able to receive a CSU or UC degree debt-free. We also continue expanding our middle class scholarship until all students can graduate debt-free. That is a goal that we're going to continue to work towards. It strengthens California's green energy infrastructure. It protects investments to combat the impacts of climate change, including coastal resilience programs. It makes childcare more affordable for struggling families. I can compete with that. It maintains our strong safety net and provides permanent grant increases for our most vulnerable families in California. We continue our effort to expand access to Medi-Cal regardless of immigration status, and this is really important. We increase provider rates for the first time in years to help those with Medi-Cal find a provider, that providers can actually be able to cover their costs to provide the service. And something that I'm particularly proud of and pushed for, the successful effort to make healthcare more affordable for over 650,000 middle-income Californians by reducing copays and eliminating deductibles in the Covered California healthcare program so that people can actually access that coverage. So important to San Diego, the budget provides, Mr. Mayor, there he is, $1 billion in homeless housing assistance and prevention funding in support of all of your local efforts to reduce and prevent homelessness. And you are doing an incredible job of leadership, Mayor, to tackle that. And we also intended and established the intent that this funding level will continue through 24-25 and that fiscal year, as well as some accountability provisions. We were able to protect funds from a program I created, the California Dream for All. That's the program that provides shared equity down payment assistance for first-time home buyers. It's a hard time to buy a home. It's a hard time to find a home. But we restored about $200 million in funding. That first $300 million last year was exhausted after 11 days only. So what we want to do with this is target this additional $200,000 to traditionally vulnerable folks that have been kept out of the market. Minority communities who've not been able to get a foothold in creating intergenerational wealth by buying a home. In short, our Protect Our Progress budget is a major win, I think, for the people of California. So at the local level, our mayor has mentioned a few. Obviously, we were able to bring home about $60 million for projects and programs within the San Diego region. And I mentioned the broader budget because I want you to understand that we didn't do it at the risk of programs in California. We brought home what we were able to based on what we were able to do and preserve in our budget. And these are critical infrastructure projects. We love infrastructure. Being in Balboa Park, San Diego's treasure, I might say, located in the 3rd Council District, and an area that I've been able to represent my entire time in elected office, City Council, Assembly, and Senate. And the mayor already mentioned some of the targeted funds, so I don't know that I need to repeat it, but, you know, Fleet Science Center, you know, it is also about education, access for our own residents, but it's also a tourist destination for so many. More than 400,000 youth and adults a year that make their way through those doors to give the power and possibilities of science to create a better future. Significant. Obviously, the Spreckles Organ Pavilion that provides incredible free access to the public to enjoy this music. And the Natural History Museum, all significant here. One thing I wanted to mention that wasn't mentioned yet, but it's on the board that the mayor staff provided for us. Small businesses are a vital part of our fabric of San Diego, and I was pleased to be able to secure $1.5 million to support the BID Council so that they're able to do the community program that provides access to our communities for street fairs and farmers markets. We allocated another thing near and dear to my heart, $500,000 for library materials, so that those who access our libraries have updated materials, something I really care about. And of course, we did some other infrastructure programs. He mentioned the money for the San Diego Housing Commission's Casa Colina. I really like that project because it supports densification of a public agency-owned land in a very collaborative way in which to bring together the state, the city, Housing Commission, and the county to provide more affordable housing. There were some regional allocations not specific to the city of San Diego, but if you talk to the delegation, they're going to tell you we believe we represent all of San Diego County, regardless of the district that we represent elected. We got $2.7 million for the San Dieguito River Park Joint Powers Authority. That's going to be the Reach the Beach Trail and Western Gateway Project and Coast to Crest Trail. Those are important amenities for our community. $5 million for an incredible organization, the Scripps Institute of Oceanography at UC San Diego. That's going to be for California coastal monitoring, coastal ocean pollution, pathogen predictions modeling. Very important, and it's tied to the Tijuana River estuary. $1 million for our San Diego Zoo to help with wildlife health and zoonotic disease program monitoring. You know, we're the forefront in the world on some of these programs. So in closing, we are the 8th largest city in the United States, and we are the 2nd largest city in California. We contribute significantly to the state's economy, but we also have significant needs. And so these regional wins, these local wins, are a result of an incredible collaboration between the Assembly, the Senate, and this Senate delegation in San Diego, the Office of the Mayor, who's always willing to give us his list of needs, and certainly our nonprofit partners, governmental agencies throughout San Diego. So thank you all, and now it is really my incredible pleasure to introduce the 76th District Assembly member, my colleague for many years on the City Council for 8 years, and now in the state legislature. Let me turn it over to Assembly Member Brian Mainshine.
Well, thank you very much, Madam Pro Tem. And as you were talking, I was realizing it's actually been 25 years that we have a quarter of a century. Yeah, yeah. And we look the same. We look the same. Thank you very much, Mayor Gloria, for having me here today, and all of us. And thank you all to all my colleagues in the San Diego delegation for continuing to fund important efforts across the city of San Diego. Kind of on that note, Senator Atkins, I was looking at my colleagues who I have this great pleasure to serve with and realize that I'm now the senior member of the delegation, both in terms of service and age. So. But I'm very proud to serve with these really good assembly members. And I think a point that was raised is really true. This delegation has worked very hard and very cohesively together. It is a challenge up in Sacramento because the facts of the matter are there's more members from Los Angeles and the Bay Area. And we've really fought above our weight for a long time, and that's a credit to all the assembly members and the senators that we get to serve with. So thank you all very much. I first want to highlight the $2.2 million that I secured to dedicate to create the San Diego Regional Gun Violence Response Task Force. San Diego's been a national leader in enforcing red flag laws to get firearms out of the hands of dangerous individuals. And this 2-year pilot program will allow San Diegans to build on this success and assist partners throughout the entire San Diego region. I also secured $600,000 for the San Diego Human Trafficking Task Force. This multi-jurisdictional task force includes members such as the San Diego Police Department and puts survivors' needs first while holding traffickers accountable. In February of this year alone, this task force helped 33 adults and 8 children find supportive services to aid in their recovery from sexual assault, abuse, and forced labor. The task force efforts in that same month resulted in the arrest of 47 alleged human traffickers and accomplices. Additionally, $1.25 million is being sent to the San Diego Fire Rescue Department. Because of this investment, they will be able to purchase a high-performance fireboat to aid in firefighting as well as search and rescue operations. I also secured $750,000 for the San Diego Housing Commission's multidisciplinary outreach team so they can significantly increase their efforts to help individuals and families experiencing homelessness. The team helps individuals find permanent and long-term housing while still maintaining the excellent work they do with shelters and supportive services. I'm honored to continue to deliver these results to communities throughout San Diego County and look forward to seeing these investments pay off in 2024 and beyond. And I think too, you know, I would reflect, I'm sure Senator Atkins would share this as well. Some of these projects we started when we were city council members. Now Mayor Gloria, the same with him as well. So it's nice to see that these projects continue to push through and we continue to receive increased funding to grow these. I'm grateful for all the mayor's efforts, particularly on homelessness, and the leadership that he's showing this city as well, and very pleased to provide these very important resources to San Diego County. It is not my pleasure now to introduce not only my colleague, but we actually sit together on the floor of the State Assembly, Assemblymember Chris Ward.
Thank you, Assemblymember Mainshine. Wonderful to be back here for a bit of a reprieve. You know, it was 108 degrees in Sacramento this week, so despite all the heat and rain and everything else that we're enduring, we're really pleased to be here to make these announcements today for the work that we're trying to do on behalf of our constituents. I want to thank Mayor Gloria for convening us all, but I particularly want to thank our city staff and leadership that I see here that I know is going to be able to implement so much of the work that we're trying to make in these investments in. Some I've not seen since my days on city council, and all of our nonprofit and other community partners here who really motivated a lot of the work that we're announcing here today. The close collaboration to understand the need and the information that we need to be able to work with all of our colleagues has been able to help inform the budget process through subcommittees and eventually the full Assembly and the full Senate so that we can be able here today in August to be able to make these announcements. Representing the 17th Assembly District, of course, here in Balboa Park, improving our facilities to be able to sustain the programs and the institutions institutions that are here is actually a priority of mine. So yes, here for the Balboa Park at the Spreckles Oregon Pavilion, but also our Fleet Science Center, and as you heard, being able to support the world-renowned San Diego Zoological Society in their conservation and preservation efforts was a priority of ours. Particularly pleased to be the steward and representative in the Assembly for the San Diego River, and knowing that we've got so much work to do to be able to revitalize and enhance both the landscape but also the access for the public to come down and enjoy the park amenities and the trail opportunities that partners like the River Park Foundation are providing was key. So be able to have a major down deposit on a centralized visitor center there in Mission Valley is really going to help us break ground in the near future. Water security is something that is particularly important here for San Diego constituents, and knowing that as a delegation we were able to make these investments to the Padre Dam Municipal Water District for their East County water purification project is going to help on reliability questions in the near future. And as Assemblymember Mainshine mentioned, making sure that we're reducing gun violence, and in cooperation with our San Diego City Attorney's Office and those that are part of the Gun Violence Response Task Force, we're really proud to be able to make these investments. And as our Senate Pro Tem had very articulately outlined, and I have to underscore, this was a very difficult budget year. But I think from the Assembly's perspective, we wanted to make sure that our core investments in social services and critical programs that are helping Californians weather very difficult times were off the table. We were not going to be able to make these cuts, and we were able to find solutions that actually sustain the housing investments that we have been so proud to champion over recent years, so that our Housing Commission and other development partners are able to continue working on producing more affordable housing for those most in need, that we're able to actually uplift child care providers and make sure that they are able to have a salary that actually meets, I think, the demands that they're given for our young loved ones, but also that we are expanding the pool of subsidized vouchers to be able to help more middle and low income Californians have access to child care as well. So we have our work cut out for us, but my take home message is going to be to continue to engage with our office, particularly my office, for my constituents, and make sure that your priorities is heard as we come up on the end of this legislative year, and we have a lot of bills before us. I want to know that opinion, but it's never too early to start thinking about the 2024-25 budget cycle as well. And I know Mayor Gloria and his team are going to be right there to make sure that our communities are going to receive their due investment in the coming year. And with that, it's my pleasure to announce and welcome my neighbor, my colleague, and a champion for San Diego neighborhoods, Dr. Akilah Weber.
Well, good morning, everyone. Good morning, Mayor Gloria, Senate Leader Tony Atkins, my esteemed colleagues in the State Assembly, members of the San Diego City Council, and members of the community and press. As stated, my name is Dr. Akilah Weber. I'm the Assembly member for the 79th Assembly District. This includes parts of San Diego, the cities of Lemon Grove, La Mesa, the unincorporated area of Spring Valley, and also parts of El Cajon. It is my pleasure to be here with you this morning to celebrate the state funding that we have been able to bring back, that the cities that we live in and represent. As was stated a few times, this was definitely an uncertain budget year. And so I'm even more appreciative of the fact that each local jurisdiction within my district that requested state funding received state funding. As Senator Atkins mentioned, and Assemblymember Ward mentioned, one of the things that we worked so hard was to ensure that the state funding for the most vulnerable communities and the most vulnerable programs stayed intact. And that was definitely one of our priorities. But one of the other priorities that we had was to make sure that we were able to set aside some money to bring back to each of our districts. Many of us have been on city councils or served in other city official positions, and we understand some of the challenges that you have on a local level. And we have relationships with various community organizations. And so we needed to make sure that we were able to bring something back to you all to ensure that we continue with that partnership, and so that our residents can not only flourish from the things that we are doing on a statewide level, but also on a local-wide level. And so with more than $3.5 million budget funding, we in my district were able to get several projects over the finish line and completely funded, and other long-term projects are one step closer. In the city of San Diego specifically, I was able to get certain projects like the Black Family Statue restoration and street improvements in San Diego City Council District 4, which will have a positive, long-lasting impact on the communities and constituents of the 79th Assembly District and all those who visit that particular area. I appreciate the local leadership we have here in this county. As was stated, we are truly, I'm going to say what my high school principal used to call us. It's a creme de la creme. We are small but mighty. And you can see that in the things that we have been able to bring home over the last few years. You can see that in the legislation that we have been able to bring home. And you can see that in the leadership we have in Senator Atkins. And so we will continue to bring these projects forward so that we can make sure that the things that need to be done at home can be seen through completely. Our partnership here is truly a model of great things that can and will happen when we all work towards the same goal. It is an honor for me to be a state legislator, to be able to listen to my constituents and bring back vital dollars and policy that will improve the quality of life for everyone in California. Thank you again for allowing me to speak on behalf of the 79th Assembly District. And next, I'd like to bring up my neighbor, Assemblymember David Alvarez, who represents Assembly District 80th.
Thank you, Dr. Weber. It's an honor to serve with Dr. Weber and my other colleagues in the State Assembly. And thank you again to the mayor for bringing us together to highlight this. After you've heard from so many, especially politicians at a press conference, you think you've heard it all. But we actually haven't heard it all, because many of the projects that we are celebrating today would not even have maybe been projects, would it not have been for the community, the advocates, the volunteers, and the people who work hard. People like Peter here at the Balboa Park Cultural Partnership, or Carlos at the Fleet Center, or our housing commissioners like Mitch, and many others that are here today. We would not be talking about some of these projects if it weren't for their dedication, their leadership, their commitment to San Diego, that then we can go and champion for the community. That's how I have always viewed my role as an elected official, is what is the community demanding, and my job is to go home and deliver for them. So I want to ask if we can please thank all of those individuals that have made these possible. In my case, this is exemplified in two specific projects. One is the Memorial Park Lights, which has had actually a lot of coverage in the media. And the community had been pressing the city to make sure to deliver a safe space for our community, for our families, and for our kids to have, so that they can recreate at all times during the day. And the city listened, the mayor listened, and came and asked to help us find the remaining funds to do that. And we're happy. And that would not have been possible without two individuals that I know are here today, who lead and volunteer their time leading our sports leagues. And that's Maria, who leads the Little League, and Francisco, who leads the soccer league. Thank you both for being here. And let's please acknowledge them as well. And the second project, and this one has not been mentioned, but is also a regional win, as our pro tem mentioned, we go together and we try to fight for our region. This happens to be in my region, and I thank my colleagues for the support. But the Scripps Institute of Oceanography is receiving over $3 million so that we can continue to monitor the situation in the Imperial Beach area as a result of the Tijuana sewage crisis that we have. That crisis remains. We are all, as a delegation, pushing to make sure that we do more as a state and that the federal government does its job. But in this year's budget, we have funding to make sure that that job gets done well, with funding to our Scripps Institute of Oceanography. And I'm really pleased, and I want to thank, she's not here today, but Mayor Paloma Aguirre in particular, who's been a strong voice for that community. So thank you to all the voices, and thank you to all the staff as well who make these possible. Thank you, Mayor Gloria. And it's my honor now to introduce a council member who represents this fantastic community, this district, and Balboa Park, Councilmember Stephen Whitburn.
Well, thank you very much, Assemblymember Alvarez. And the bells are tolling in delight with the funding that is being provided here at Balboa Park. You know, I have the real privilege of representing Balboa Park and downtown and the surrounding area on the city council. And I am a lucky guy because I get to follow in the footsteps of elected officials who have gone on to bigger things, who were champions of Balboa Park when they served on the city council and have continued to be champions for Balboa Park in their current roles. Our Senate President Pro Tem Tony Atkins, our Mayor Gloria, Assemblymember Ward, and of course many of the other elected officials voted on Balboa Park projects during their time in office in other capacities. So we're the beneficiaries of all of their work over so many years. You know, I just personally want to thank our Sacramento delegation for all they have brought back to San Diego from Sacramento, millions of dollars to improve our neighborhoods, to improve our communities, and to provide the resources that we need. That plane that's coming in right now is bringing tourists, is bringing business people, it's bringing all sorts of folks who are going to benefit from the investments that these elected officials are bringing into San Diego today. As was mentioned, here in Balboa Park alone, the Fleet Science Center exhibit space will be expanding, the Natural History Museum is getting new internal systems, and the Historic Spreckles Organ will benefit from the re-leathering. And so on behalf of the 14 million visitors to Balboa Park each year, I really want to thank our legislators from San Diego for providing these resources. And I also want to say that these dollars are in good hands. When you look at our city departments, our Housing Commission, the representatives of the institutions here in Balboa Park and the other organizations that are represented here, these dollars will be used wisely, they'll be used efficiently, and they'll be used to benefit our public here in San Diego. And of course, nobody lobbies the state legislature harder than Mayor Gloria. And I want to thank the mayor for all of your phone calls and trips to Sacramento that have brought over $24 million back to San Diego. The improvements funded by these dollars are going to benefit all of us. Thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you, Council Member. For the record, all on Southwest. There's no first class. There's only free peanuts. Worth every trip up, everybody. Let me just conclude. You heard the bells tolling. We started at 8:30. We're done at 9. We're announcing $25 million. That's like a little less than $1 million a minute that we're all here together, and that's all due to our state delegation. So we're going to huge another round of applause to our state delegation for working so hard under the most difficult of circumstances to deliver for our community. I want to just conclude, we got to wrap this up because the city's preparing for a storm, you may understand. And I got our police chief, our fire chief, our lifeguard chief, everyone's here. We got things to do. But I just want to conclude by thanking, actually, Assemblymember Alvarez got it exactly right. We have great community partners who are here, and I want to encourage the media, whether it's our friends in Balboa Park, at our cultural institutions, the River Valley. There's so many people here who are deeply involved in this development, but I want to just call out and appreciate our city staff. What I take up to Sacramento is prepared by some of our engineers who are in neighborhoods looking for opportunities to invest in our communities, are prepared by our police or our fire chief trying to figure out how can we make San Diego safer than it already is. How can we do more? So to every city staff member, including our Housing Commission, who pull together those documents, make those requests, we have to compete for these funds. We have very persuasive state legislators, but we have to have good information, great data, and the ability to execute, as the council member was mentioning. And our city staff team works so very hard, and in particular our government affairs team led by Adrian Granda, who is here. These are the folks that really get the job done. So can we get a round of applause for our city staff? Park and Rec, library, transportation, police department, fire department, it's all great stuff. So let me just conclude with just maybe connecting the dots quickly. Before you leave, you may see that the Botanical Building is currently under construction. We're about, where are we at this point, guys? Maybe a year out or so? We got a little bit of time longer. But Senator Atkins and I stood in front of that Botanical Building a couple of years ago. We got some bids. Ranya's out working on the bids. We got some construction underway now, and soon that iconic San Diego structure will be preserved for another 100 years. That's what state delegation funding can do. When Senator Atkins and our delegation brings back dollars, we invest them in communities, and you can see that progression over years and years. What we've announced today, you will see unfold in communities like Memorial and communities like City Heights, Emerald Hills, other parts of our city. And so this is a really great day, and it's worthy of marking the occasion. These dollars are not promised. We have to compete. We are San Diego, and so sometimes folks don't know how far the state goes all the way down here, but we have delegation members who work extremely hard, and when we compete, we win, and when we win, the beneficiaries are San Diegans. So this is a great day. I want to, again, encourage folks to talk to any of our delegation members, any of our community stakeholders, tell you more about these specific projects and how they improve the quality of life throughout San Diego. And also happy to take storm questions if you guys have those. But we'll break and hopefully get a group shot here with this graphic, and we'll celebrate and come back again next year, because we always want our fair share. Did you have something real quick?
I think everybody wants to know about this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I will tell you that our city's team is working hard to prepare for Hurricane Hillary to arrive. I want to encourage San Diegans to take appropriate precautions between now and the storm's anticipated arrival sometime late Sunday or early Monday. The city will be doing the same. Our city staff works on an aggressive storm patrol to make sure that our public rights-of-way are prepared. I know our fire chief, our lifeguard chief, the police department are all preparing to make sure that we can keep folks safe. But this is a partnership. And so whether it's getting sandbags for your home, we have distribution centers in every council district. If you want more information about that, go to sandiego.gov. Just take appropriate precautions. Any rain event in San Diego is significant. We're not exactly used to that around here, but we have had plenty of warning. There's plenty of time to take precautions. Sunday night's probably not the night to do much if you want to just stay in. Help make sure the roadways are cleared and we're prepared. And last thing is just use common sense. Listen, I've lived here my entire life. We know what happens in Mission Valley when the rain comes. Don't drive down that street. Allow Chief Stoll and his team to be able to focus on other challenges, not folks who drive into flooded zones. So please take appropriate precautions, use common sense, know that the city is making its preparations. We're working with our regional partners. We'll be prepared to handle this. I think it'll be a significant rain event, but I think we'll weather it, no pun intended, well. And we'll make sure we're taking every precaution to make sure that that's the case. Yeah. So our Deputy Chief Operating Officer, Christina Peralta, and her team have been working very hard. What we're doing is making sure that any of our sites are prepared for this, specifically 20th and B. This is a new facility, and so we're examining that situation, and we're taking precautions. We're working with our Housing Commission. We have an inclement weather shelter system. We're currently outside of the normal time zone of that, but I think we're calling our regional partners to ask them to open their doors and make sure more people can come off the streets. I will tell you, rain or shine, I want homeless individuals to please step forward and accept the services in the shelter that we can offer. They're better off any day of the week, sun or rain, indoors rather than outdoors. But suffice to say, we are making special efforts to try and address our unsheltered population and again, encourage folks to come off the streets, get into shelters, get safe, rain or shine. Anyone else? Yeah. Say that again, I'm sorry. Well, and I mentioned, Lisa, do we have that commitment yet?
Yeah, inclement weather shelters, we're working to activate at least a couple of them.
Yeah. Yeah, if you want to, is that okay? You good, comfortable? Yeah. Sure.
Good morning, everybody. Yes, we've been working with the partners that activate inclement weather shelters during the winter, determining what capacity they can activate over the weekend, and they are preparing. We're preparing those activations. Standard procedures where those activations go out to media, to our outreach teams, to our police and fire teams will happen just as they always would in the winter.
That's Lisa Jones, who's our Executive Vice President at the San Diego Housing Commission, does a great job. We partner with Father Joe's, with Rescue Mission, other folks during the cold weather season. Obviously, rain in August is not common, but I know that our homelessness response team hopefully can step up and do additional work. Reminder that we've dramatically increased shelter capacity in the last calendar year in our city. So in addition, when you ask about more, that can be the Travel Lodge in Barrio Logan, that can be the 20th and B safe sleeping site. It could be any of the number of additional shelters that we've opened over the last year. There's more capacity. We always want more. We'll have actually more soon. We're working on OLOT. We have a domestic violence shelter that we're opening soon, thanks to the help and support of actually some of the folks who are here today. So this is not just a weather event response. We are continually working to provide more shelter opportunities for our homeless population. Anyone else? Again, happy to do one-on-ones. Let's get that group shot, right, Dave? Roland? Let's do it. Thank you all again for being here. Again, huge thanks to our state delegation.